"What are you doing here, in this place?" he asked, trying to sound neutral, but failing when he saw the deplorable state she was in. The Italian suit he wore cost more than she'd probably seen in years. The realization made him feel nauseous. "Waiting for the bus, sir. It should come soon," she lied. And Sebastian knew it was a lie. That line had been discontinued years ago, ever since the new highway was built 50 kilometers away. He looked out at the shimmering heat horizon, where nothing moved except dry bushes pushed by the hot wind. "No bus comes through here, Cecilia. You know that," he said, stepping into the precarious shade of the shelter. The zinc roof crackled with the heat and offered little relief from the relentless sun. Ravi started squirming in her lap, complaining about the heat, with small sounds of discomfort that squeezed Sebastian's heart. The child's lips were cracked, his skin red from the sun. "He's thirsty," Sebastian stated. Not a question, but a painful realization that cut deep. Cecilia tried to hide her son's face, pulling a thin cloth over him for better protection. "We're fine, sir. Please, continue your trip. You'll be late for your appointments." Her voice trembled with barely disguised panic. Sebastian completely ignored the plea. He turned and walked back to the car with determined steps, opened the rear door, and grabbed 2 bottles of ice-cold water he always kept inside. When he returned, he held one out towards Ravi without asking permission. The boy immediately reached out his little hands, but looked at his mother, seeking approval with those big, trusting eyes. Cecilia sighed, defeated by the basic need to keep her son alive, and took the bottle with visibly shaking hands. She opened it and helped Ravi drink. The boy gulped it down with desperate eagerness, making Sebastian feel like he'd been punched in the stomach. "Drink some too," he ordered, offering the second bottle. Cecilia hesitated, pride battling fiercely against survival. But thirst won. She took the water and drank a long gulp, closing her eyes for a second, as if it were the best liquid she'd ever tasted. "Thank you," she whispered, wiping her mouth with the back of her dusty hand. Sebastian stood there, his shadow covering mother and son, blocking any attempt to escape. "Where were you headed, Cecilia? On foot, with a small child and that luggage?" he pressed, desperately needing to understand how the woman who once kept my mansion spotless had fallen to this point of complete degradation. "To my cousin's house in Stone Ridge," she answered, avoiding his eyes. "Stone Ridge is 200 kilometers from here." "You were planning to walk 200 kilometers with a child in your arms?" he asked incredulously, anger rising, not at her, but at the entire absurd situation. "I'd get a ride along the way. Someone always shows up willing to help," she said, trying to sound confident, but her voice cracked. "With a small child, accepting rides from strangers, you know how dangerous that is," he countered, sharper than intended. Ravi, satisfied by the cool water, began to whimper softly, bothered by the suffocating heat and the palpable tension between the adults. Sebastian glanced at his expensive watch, an automatic gesture of someone always in a hurry, and made a decision that would change everything. "Stand up," he said firmly. Cecilia looked at him, startled. "What?" "Stand up, get your things, you're coming with me," he declared, his tone leaving no room for argument. "No, sir, absolutely not. I can't. Mrs. Vanessa would be furious if she found out," she began to protest, fear written across her pale face. "Vanessa hasn't lived in my house for months. We're divorced," Sebastian cut her off sharply, and he saw genuine surprise widen Cecilia's tired eyes. "Even so, Mr. Sebastian, I can't accept your help. I have my path, you have yours. We come from completely different worlds," she insisted, hugging Ravi tighter, as if she could shield him from the confusion with just the warmth of her love. "Look at your son, Cecilia," Sebastian exploded, completely losing patience. The loud shout made the boy start crying in fright.
Sebastian immediately lowered his voice, running a hand through his sweaty hair, frustrated with himself.
I'm sorry, but look at him. He can't take another hour in this infernal sun. If you stay here waiting for a bus that doesn't exist or a ride from some lunatic, you're putting his life in real danger. Is that what you want? To be proud and watch your son suffer the consequences? He argued, using the cold logic he applied to the toughest business deals. Cecilia looked at Ravi's red, sweaty little face. She saw the discomfort and exhaustion in those innocent features that trusted her to make the right decisions. She bit her lower lip hard, tears gathering in the corners of her dry eyes. I don't have money to pay for the ride, sir, she whispered, shame burning hotter than the blazing sun. I'm not charging fare, Cecilia. I'm offering you a chance to survive this day. Let's go now, he said. Without waiting for an answer, he bent down and picked up her surprisingly heavy suitcase. Sebastian wondered what someone with nothing could possibly carry that weighed so much. Come on, he repeated, walking determinedly toward the luxury car. Cecilia stayed still for a few more seconds, staring at the wooden bench where she'd spent the last 4 torturous hours. Then, with a sigh that seemed to come from the depths of her soul, she stood up with Ravi in her arms and followed the man in the suit. Sebastian opened the rear door for her. The interior smelled of new leather and air conditioning, a violent contrast to the scent of dry earth and desperation clinging to her clothes. She hesitated at the door, looking at the impeccable upholstery. I'll dirty everything, she said, genuinely worried. It's just a car, Cecilia. Get in, he insisted, impatient with the delay. She entered slowly, settling as far into the corner as possible, curled up as if trying to take up the smallest physical space imaginable. Sebastian closed the door carefully, placed the heavy suitcase in the trunk, and took the wheel. When he started the engine and the air conditioning kicked in, he heard a deep sigh of relief from the back seat. For the first 15 minutes, he drove in absolute silence, discreetly watching her in the rearview mirror. She wiped Ravi's sweaty face with a damp cloth, murmuring lullabies in a soft, melodic voice. Sebastian felt a strange guilt growing in his chest, a personal responsibility he couldn't rationally explain. He remembered her perfectly in the mansion, always efficient, always discreet, always smiling politely even when Vanessa screamed over completely trivial things. Then, one day, she simply vanished without a trace. Why? Is he a violent man? A dangerous criminal? Sebastian pressed, genuinely concerned for their safety. No, sir. He's a good, honest man, but he has his life organized, and we're not part of it, she said, with infinite sadness tinting every word. Sebastian felt a pang of irritation toward this unknown man who irresponsibly abandoned a child. Every father has the right to know about his child, Cecilia, and every child has the right to know their father, he said, taking on a moralizing tone. Sometimes the truth destroys more lives than it protects, Mr. Sebastian, she replied enigmatically, making it clear she wouldn't elaborate further. The car devoured kilometers of hot asphalt, and they quickly approached a major highway junction. To the right, the road led straight to Stone Ridge, a poor little town with few resources where Cecilia planned to start over from scratch. To the left, the road returned to the capital, to luxury, to Sebastian's solitary mansion. He slowed the vehicle significantly. The turn signal began its rhythmic, hypnotic clicking. Cecilia watched attentively, naturally expecting him to turn right. But after a dramatic pause, Sebastian decisively turned the wheel left, making a full U-turn. Mr. Sebastian, you took the wrong way. Stone Ridge is in the opposite direction, she warned, leaning forward with obvious concern. I know exactly where Stone Ridge is, Cecilia, he said with absolute calm, accelerating toward the capital.
Then where exactly are you taking us? Please stop. She entered real panic, her voice rising an octave. No one is going to hurt you. I have my word of honor, he assured her, keeping his voice firm and controlled. But I can't go back to that place. I don't have suitable clothes, nothing presentable. What will people think when they see me? What do you intend to do with us? She asked, genuine fear making her voice tremble uncontrollably. Sebastian looked at her through the rearview mirror with an intensity that made her stop speaking instantly. I'm going to correct a terrible mistake, Cecilia. You worked in my house for 2 full years, took care of everything with exemplary dedication, and were treated like disposable trash. I won't allow you to go to a slum with a baby while I sleep alone in a mansion with 10 empty rooms, he declared with an unshakable firmness. But in what capacity? As a maid again? I can't work properly with Ravi needing constant care, she argued, desperately trying to find logic in his apparently impulsive decision. Not as a maid, Sebastian said, letting the answer hang in the tense air.
Then what exactly? She whispered, her voice almost inaudible. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he picked up the phone from the center console, dialed a familiar number, and put it on speaker. "Hello, Martha," he said to the current housekeeper. "Yes, Mr. Sebastian, good afternoon," the woman replied from the other end. "Prepare the main guest room immediately, the blue one with the garden view, and ask the cook to make a nutritious soup. Buy powdered milk, small-sized diapers, and various children's clothes. Everything now," he ordered with authority. "Yes, sir. For when do you need it?" the housekeeper asked, clearly surprised by the unusual request. "I'll be there in an hour and a half. And Martha, no one but you is allowed in the east wing of the house. That's a direct order," he said severely. "Perfectly understood, sir." He hung up and put the phone back. Cecilia sat completely stunned, staring at him as if he had lost his mind. "Guest room, Mr. Sebastian? This can't be right. You can't put a former maid in the guest room of your mansion. What will your rich friends think? What will high society say?" She was genuinely terrified by the absurd breaking of social hierarchy. "I don't care at all what they think or don't think. I care exclusively about what is fair and right, and leaving you on that road to die wasn't fair or right," he said, ending the discussion definitively. The rest of the trip passed in heavy, tension-filled silence. Cecilia looked out the window, watching the landscape gradually change from arid desert to organized suburbs and finally to the imposing gates of exclusive luxury condos. She recognized every curve of that road, every tree, every visual landmark. Her heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst out of her throat. She was returning to the exact place from which she had been dishonorably expelled, but now entering through the front door as a guest. When the shiny black car passed through the ornate wrought-iron electronic gates of the mansion, uniformed security guards saluted respectfully. Sebastian parked directly in front of the majestic main entrance, where the Italian marble fountain sprayed crystal-clear water in hypnotic patterns. He turned off the engine completely and turned back, looking deeply at Cecilia and the boy sleeping peacefully in her arms. "We've reached our final destination. From this moment on, no one will touch you or harm you in any way. I give you my solemn word," he promised with absolute seriousness. Cecilia could only nod, completely speechless to express the whirlwind of emotions she felt. Sebastian got out, walked around, and opened the rear door for her with gentleness. He extended his strong, well-groomed hand to help her out. She looked at that large, clean, masculine hand, then at her own, calloused, dirty, rough from hard work. After a hesitation that felt eternal, she placed her hand in his and felt an electric current run up her entire arm.
he gently pulled her out of the car. With Ravi sleeping deeply in one arm and Sebastian firmly holding her elbow, she slowly climbed the marble steps of the main entrance. The massive carved wooden door opened automatically, and Martha stood there waiting, eyes wide of shock as she recognized the dirty, ragged woman beside the elegant boss. "Cecilia, is it really you?" Martha let slip incredulously. "Prepare a hot bath for her immediately, Martha, and a warm one for the boy with neutral soap. Then call Dr. Richard for a full medical checkup on the child," Sebastian ordered, walking past her and leading Cecilia up the main marble staircase. As they climbed the wide steps, Cecilia felt overwhelming dizziness, the excessive luxury, the characteristic smell of cleanliness and fresh flowers, all those painful memories flooding back at once. She clung to the golden handrail to keep from fainting. At the top of the stairs, Sebastian guided her down the polished hallway to double mahogany doors. He opened them to reveal a sumptuous room with a king-sized bed, antique furniture, and a stunning view of the perfectly manicured gardens. "This is your room now," he said simply. Cecilia entered slowly, as if stepping on sacred ground. She carefully placed Ravi on the silk bedspread, removed his tiny sandals, and covered him with a soft blanket. The boy sighed contentedly in his sleep, settling comfortably for the first time in weeks. Cecilia stood beside the monumental bed, looking at her son with an expression mixing unconditional love and indescribable relief. Sebastian watched from the doorway, respecting that intimate mother-son moment. After long minutes of silence, Cecilia turned to him with tears streaming freely down her thin face. "I can't find the right words to express my gratitude," she whispered, voice choked. "I've thanked you enough. Now you need to rest and recover. The bathroom is through that door there. There are clean towels and all the hygiene products you might need. Use everything freely. I'll leave you to settle in peacefully. If you need anything during the night, my room is at the end of this hallway," he explained patiently.
Cecilia nodded, wiping her tears with the back of her trembling hand. Sebastian began to leave, but stopped at the threshold and turned one last time. "Cecilia, welcome back. Truly welcome. This time to stay for good if you wish," he said with absolute sincerity. She managed a small, hesitant but genuinely grateful smile, the first since he'd found her on that abandoned road. Sebastian went downstairs and straight to the spacious kitchen. He personally prepared a nutritious snack and organized everything in the fridge in case Cecilia or Ravi woke up hungry during the night. Then he went to his private office and turned on the computer. He began making a detailed list of everything that needed urgent attention. Proper children's bed, varied clothes for Cecilia and Ravi, educational toys, school supplies for when the boy was old enough for formal studies. The list grew quickly, and Sebastian realized he'd have to cancel all appointments for the following week to organize everything properly. But that didn't bother him at all. In fact, he felt genuinely excited about the prospect of doing something truly meaningful in real people's lives. He worked on the computer for 2 hours, researching schools, pediatricians, specialized children's stores. When he finally shut it down and went upstairs to his room, he paused discreetly in front of their door. He could hear the boy's soft, regular breathing, and the silence indicating Cecilia had probably fallen asleep too. He smiled to himself, entering his own room with a lightness he hadn't felt in years. For the first time in a long time, Sebastian felt his life had real, tangible purpose. The next morning, he woke earlier than usual and personally prepared a full, nutritious breakfast.
golden pancakes, creamy scrambled eggs, crispy bacon, fresh fruit salad, and natural orange juice. He was arranging everything on the dining table when he heard cautious footsteps on the staircase. Cecilia appeared at the kitchen entrance, looking visibly rested, but still lost and out of place in that luxurious environment. She had showered and was wearing the same clothes from the day before, now clean and neatly pressed. "Good morning, Cecilia. I truly hope you slept well," Sebastian said with genuine cheer. "I slept better than I have in months, sir. Ravi is still sleeping deeply. I think he was completely exhausted," she replied, her voice still husky from restorative sleep. Sebastian gestured invitingly toward the abundant table. "Sit down and have breakfast with me. You need to eat properly." Cecilia hesitated visibly, old habits of subordination automatically resurfacing. "I can prepare breakfast for you, like I always did. You don't need to bother," she offered, already heading toward the cabinets on instinct. Sebastian shook his head firmly. "Absolutely not today. Today, you're my special guest. Sit down and eat calmly. We'll have plenty of time to establish a proper routine later, but today I just want you to rest and recover fully," he insisted gently. Cecilia sat slowly, still looking extremely uncomfortable with the total role reversal. Sebastian poured aromatic coffee for her and sat across the table, discreetly observing her. They ate in comfortable, respectful silence for many minutes. Cecilia chewed slowly, savoring every bite as if it were the most delicious meal of her life. Sebastian felt deep satisfaction seeing her finally eating properly after who knows how many days of deprivation. After a considerable time, Cecilia carefully set her utensils aside and looked at him with absolute seriousness. "Mr. Sebastian, I need to understand exactly what my situation is here. What do you expect from me in exchange for this generosity? What will be my obligations and responsibilities?" she asked directly. Sebastian had thought carefully about this question all night. He wanted to be completely fair. He wanted to ensure Cecilia felt valued and respected, never exploited or humiliated. "I'd like you to take on general household care again, like before, cleaning, organizing, maybe preparing some meals when you feel like it, but with one fundamental, non-negotiable difference. You'll have fixed working hours and guaranteed regular days off. You'll receive a fair salary, much higher than what I paid before, and complete, unrestricted freedom to care for Ravi whenever he needs you. If he gets sick, you stay exclusively with him. If he has any school activity in the future, you'll accompany him. Your son comes first, always, absolutely always," he explained in detail. Cecilia looked at him with eyes brimming with intense emotion.
"This is more than I ever dreamed possible," Cecilia whispered, voice shaking. Sebastian's smile was warm, steady. "There's more. Full health insurance for both of you, the best education for Ravi when he's ready. And if one day you want to stand on your own, I'll make sure you have the savings to do it with dignity, not desperation." The dam broke. Cecilia buried her face in her hands and sobbed, years of fear, hunger, and silent strength pouring out in raw waves. Sebastian rose quietly, set a box of tissues beside her, and gave her space. No empty platitudes, just silence that said, "I see you, let it out." When the storm eased, she wiped her eyes, cheeks burning. "I'm sorry for losing control like that." He shook his head firmly. "Never apologize for real feelings. You've carried more than anyone should.
It's healthy to finally breathe. A small patter of feet interrupted them. Ravi appeared at the top of the stairs, rubbing sleepy eyes, then bolted to hide behind his mother when he spotted Sebastian. Cecilia scooped him up, kissing his curls. "Morning, my love. Hungry?" Ravi still eyeing the stranger warily. Sebastian moved slowly, poured golden honey over tiny star-shaped pancakes in playful swirls, set the plate down, and stepped back, giving the boy room to feel safe. Cecilia helped Ravi into the high chair. One cautious bite, then his eyes sparkled. He attacked the pancakes with glee, honey soon smeared across his grinning face. Sebastian watched, a quiet laugh escaping him. For the first time in years, the mansion felt alive. Over breakfast, he announced, "Today we shop. Proper clothes, toys, a real bed for Ravi, everything you need to feel at home here." Cecilia started to protest the expense. Sebastian cut her off gently but unyieldingly. "Non-negotiable. You both deserve this." She relented. The day became a whirlwind of wonder. Ravi touched every bright toy and soft shirt with wide-eyed awe. Cecilia stuck to the cheapest options. Sebastian quietly upgraded everything in the cart. Coats, shoes, a car-themed bed Ravi instantly adored, shelves for books and treasures, a giant stuffed dog that would later change everything. By afternoon, the room was transformed, cozy, colorful, his. Ravi bounced on the new bed, laughing wildly. Cecilia sat beside him, stroking his hair, tears of joy shining in her eyes. Sebastian leaned in the doorway, chest tight with something he hadn't felt in forever, pure, quiet happiness. That night, after Ravi was tucked in, Cecilia brewed tea and they sat in the living room, two people finally daring to talk about the years that had torn them apart and somehow brought them back together. Sebastian confessed the emptiness money couldn't fill. "I was a robot. Wake, work, sleep, repeat. No connection, no purpose. Then I saw you on that road, and it felt like the universe handed me a second chance to matter." Cecilia reached across and touched his arm. "Thank you for seeing us. I promise I won't waste this." He covered her hand. "We won't, and I promise you'll both thrive here, not just survive." Days blurred into a gentle new rhythm. Cecilia cooked with love, played with Ravi endlessly, kept the house shining. Sebastian came home early, hungry for their stories. Ravi's wariness melted the day the giant stuffed dog arrived. He ran straight into Sebastian's arms for the first but not last time.
One afternoon, Cecilia cried again in the kitchen, not from pain, but from a shelter call offering a spot they no longer needed. "If you hadn't stopped that day," she whispered. Sebastian pulled her close. "But I did, and you're safe now, always." Weeks became months. Ravi started a wonderful preschool, came home buzzing with tales of friends and new discoveries. Cecilia smiled more, laughed freely, looked like a woman who could finally breathe. Sebastian realized he loved the chaos, the footsteps, the cooking smells, the bedtime stories. Then came the night Ravi's innocent questions stopped time. "Sebastian, are you my daddy now?" After a heartbeat of silence, Sebastian answered softly, "I'm not the one who helped make you, little man, but I'm here. I care about you and your mom more than anything. I'll always be here for both of you. That's my promise." Ravi accepted it with a nod and kept eating. But later, alone, Cecilia's voice trembled. "I need to tell you the truth about his father." Sebastian waited.
It's you, Sebastian. You're Ravi's father. The room seemed to vanish. Everything clicked into place. The night 4 years earlier, the whiskey, the shared despair, the fleeting comfort that became a secret life. Shock, anger, grief for lost years, then fierce, blazing gratitude. "I have a son," he whispered, voice cracking, "and I want to be his father, really be his father." Cecilia sobbed in relief. "I was terrified you'd hate me for keeping him from you." Sebastian took her hands. "I'm stunned, but mostly I'm thankful. Fate gave us back to each other. Now we build forward, together." The next morning he moved mountains. Lawyer, paternity test, star-shaped pancakes, a cheek swab Ravi giggled through. Days later the result arrived, 99.9%. Official, real, his. When Vanessa stormed in weeks later, venom dripping, Sebastian shut her down cold. "He's my son, my heir, my everything. Come near my family again and I expose everything you buried in Angra dos Reis. Last warning." She fled. Months later they were a family in every way that mattered. One perfect Friday night under the stars, Sebastian told Cecilia he loved her, not just as Ravi's mother, but as the woman who had quietly healed his empty life. She kissed him back with the same truth. "I love you too, completely." 2 years on, Ravi's 6th birthday roared with joy in the garden. Sebastian watched his son race around, then turned to his wife, his partner, his soulmate. Cecilia leaned against him and murmured, "I still remember that blazing bus stop. I thought we were finished." He kissed her temple. "We were just beginning." Ravi ran up, chocolate frosting everywhere. "Daddy, Juan said his dad's company is bigger than yours." Sebastian laughed, wiping his son's cheek. "Doesn't matter, champion. The only thing that matters is the love right here." And as the sun dipped low, bathing them in gold far kinder than that desert day, Cecilia squeezed Sebastian's hand and whispered the line that sealed this story forever. "The most important moment of my life, when a millionaire stopped on an abandoned road, saw his lost family, and swore we'd never wait alone again." If this story moved you, like, subscribe to Echoed Tales and hit the notification bell so that you will notify once we drop a new video.